I'm back with the third part of my model and hobby room construction project. I concluded the previous video finalizing the electrical wiring and starting on some of the drywall. And up next, I will get the drywall sheets up onto the ceiling. Having already applied liquid nails to the studs, I carefully lift up the first sheet of drywall using 2 ladders for assistance. Piecing together the ceiling over the next several hours, I work around the air vent because that piece has to be fitted a certain way. Using a custom cut and folded strip of aluminum, I place it up to the opening as an extension so the vent cover sits flush to the drywall and there's no air leakage. Taking measurements from the vent opening and creating a cutout in the drywall, I take a jab saw and knock out the opening. A test fit of the drywall checks out and I go ahead and secure it. With the vent out of the way, I can complete the ceiling and move on to the walls. Inside Studio B, I'll start packing the insulation, leaving the studs exposed for liquid nails. I'll be building a foam box to place around the sump opening to fit the height and width, and it will slide in and out of place whenever I need access. The same will be done for the water main. The ceiling height in this room is well over 8 feet high, so I can't use a single sheet of drywall bottom to top. Instead, I lay them horizontally and mark the start point with my laser level. Using the marks, I use a strip of lumber as the ledge to rest the drywall on, then take care of the cutouts and screw it on. Then I just build upon them from there. Entering Studio B from the mechanical area, you can see I still need to insulate and finish this side of the wall, which I will be doing next. The drywall work inside the hobby room is completed, and here is a brief look around. Looking back on this, I suppose I am now the Oprah of insulation, since I never use it too sparingly. And just like that, the drywall work is completed. Working around the water heater was more difficult than I had expected, and there wasn't enough clearance for the drill to properly screw in the drywall. But this doesn't need to be perfect, and I'll just mud the crap out of it. Up here in the corner is the main ground to the breaker panel, as are all the network cables I ran for the home theater build. I'll just leave that area alone. Before I begin mudding the drywall, I cover the floor with a large plastic sheet. This helps me clean up the inevitable mess from wet sheetrock. I gather up my tools in preparation for filling in all the big gaps around the room. Luckily, I have a water spigot right here that I can use to start mixing my 90-minute dry time joint compound. Once I get it mixed to the consistency I want, I just fill every gap I can find in the entire room. After a few days, I go into taping and joint compound mode. Transferring some basic all-purpose sheetrock from the original bucket to another bucket, I add water to dilute the mix and make it more spreadable. With my handy mixer blade, I whip up a frosty of viscous, fully hydrated wall mud. Over the next several days, I mud and I tape, and I mud and I tape, and I mud some more. Having completed the majority of the mud work, this existing wall that I built about 5 years prior was a practice wall to figure out how to install drywall. Using a thick pile paint roller, I applied watered down joint compound to the entire wall, which now has this texture I don't want. Purely by accident, as I was filling in the corners, I noticed that the trowel of mud completely filled in the spaces, making the wall smooth again. It's my goal to now apply as many skim coats to this wall as needed to make it flat to match the room. After each coat of the room, I leave the fans running overnight to start all over again the following day. Applying a skim coat of mud around the entire room was the final step, and now the walls are complete. The walls will require extra sanding, but will look nicer and hide my mistakes when it comes time to paint. I didn't do the ceiling because I plan to roll on an even more watered down compound and take a crow's foot texture brush to it. Not planning this out very well, I realized I buried my ceiling markers under the plastic sheet and needed to pull it up to get to those. With the markers exposed, I use a laser level to project the crosshairs up onto the ceiling. The floor is not level, so I used this sponge to confirm the endpoint was lined up. The alignment is all set, so I start marking the cross points for the drill. Using the hole cutter I showed you in the previous video, I cut out 8 openings for the flush-mounted LED lights. All the light fixtures are open, and now I need to get the 2 in-ceiling speaker cutouts made. To accomplish that, I needed a larger circle cutter than what I used for the lights. I'll be installing 8-inch speakers, and this was the only tool I could find. In hindsight, I literally could have just used the cutout template that came with the speakers, placed it onto the ceiling, traced around it, and then used the jab saw to cut it out. This circle cutter was the wrong tool for the job. I now have a total of 10 holes for LED lighting and 2 for speakers. This Swiss cheese looking ceiling is getting a rest for now, as this concludes part 3 of my model and hobby room build. Please watch for part 4 coming soon. Thanks for watching.